dawn of the century, African ministers of finance realized the need to set up an institution that could provide African countries with legal assistance to confront vulture funds and unfair commercial transactions. In response, hosted by the African Development Bank Group, the African Legal Support Facility was established. Since day one in 2008, its mission has been to provide legal advice and technical assistance in negotiation of complex commercial transactions and creditor litigation, to develop and maintain related knowledge resources, to encourage countries and investors to conclude equitable, bankable, and sustainable agreements that deliver value to African countries while protecting their sovereign rights. Accountability and compliance with the best international practices in corporate governance are core principles of what we are. The Director and Chief Executive Officer reports to the Management Board appointed by the Governing Council, which is the supreme body of the ALSF. During the first phase of the ALSF, more than $120 million were approved for over 300 operations in more than 50 countries. On average, demand for the ALSF services has increased by 35% each year. As of today, the ALSF has 60 members and remains, in essence, open to all African countries. The involvement of the ALSF has become synonymous with high-quality transactions, objectivity, propriety, and inclusiveness that engender trust and promote social cohesion and development. The achievements resulting from the facility's interventions include savings and revenues for governments, increased private sector investment resulting from ALSF interventions, more than 50% litigation cases won against vulture funds and similar entities, which before won nearly all cases against African countries, 65 contract negotiations that achieved greater benefits for African countries, about 400,000 direct and indirect jobs created, and almost 13,000 African legal professionals and government officials trained in negotiation of complex commercial transactions and creditor litigation. Altogether, the project supported by the ALSF will generate more than 8,000 megawatts of renewable and non-renewable energy. The ALSF, in its support of African countries to increase their renewable energy capacity, is also providing leadership in energy transition to mitigate climate change. In the emerging green hydrogen sector, the ALSF is assisting African countries with green hydrogen potential to develop large-scale green hydrogen projects. The overarching objective is to position African countries as lead producers and export hubs for green hydrogen while contributing to global sustainable climate-resilient development goals. But the history of ALSF's first 14 years is told by many more stories of success. Assisting the Somali government in the negotiations with Paris Club creditors that resulted in Somalia receiving a $1.4 billion debt relief, approximately 67% of the country's Paris Club debt. Supporting the government of the Gambia in negotiations and finalization of debt restructuring arrangements, and the ALSF is also assisting African governments to create and structure sovereign wealth funds to empower African governments as investors. Backing up the government of Uganda to develop an oil refinery project framework agreement, putting an end to a series of inconclusive negotiations and enabling a sustainable project set to increase the Hoima district facility production capacity as well as addressing potential environmental impacts. Effectively represented the Republic of Guinea at dismissing a multi-billion US claim brought by an investor in respect of a dispute concerning the largest iron deposit in the world in Guinea's Simandou region. Supporting the government of Rwanda to draft and negotiate project development, joint venture and concession agreements for the development of the Bugesera International Airport, positioning Kigali as a new nerve center for business and travel in the sub-region. Assisting the government of Tunisia in the structuring of a 60,000 M3D wastewater treatment plant located in the region of El Essyan in the north of Greater Tunis. Throughout unforeseen challenges such as COVID-19 and the war in Ukraine, the ALSF continues to play a vital role supporting governments' recovery efforts and enhancing African countries' resilience, while alleviating the impacts on African economies and food security. The growing membership, the increasing and widespread demand for its services, and the recent endorsement to extend the facility's mandate for a further 14 years manifest the rising importance of the ALSF's support. The stable, developed, resilient, and prosperous Africa we aim for lies ahead of us. A sustainable future for Africa is in the making.